Hello, welcome back everyone. Another game week is nearly under the belt and another one coming up, fast and furious. Firstly, thanks very much everyone for all the likes and all the subscribes. 330 subscribers, which is pretty good to be honest in 2 weeks, so really happy with that. So thanks again. So what we're going to do here is quick overview of what's happened so far, and then before we go into the lineups, we're going to have a look at the groups for the under 23s because I think that's quite important. You need to factor that in terms of what's happening going forward with some teams qualified, etc. So, quick look at what's been ongoing so far. Big disappointment in the All-Star where Pro started pretty well. Cezinha scoring away, Eduardo massive, and then Carlos Gil with a 47. So yeah, it's not like him, but still a strong captain pick. Cap 270 is going pretty well with Sherky to go, and Cezinha's not had his AA added on yet either, although might not be much away at Ulsan. Sergio Gomez defender card, just a lovely wee card to have and just keep, I think, even if he drops a wee bit if he's not playing for Man City. Cap 240 rare, we've hit that, so 262, but we'll not have to sweat up to there because there's three guys who've still got their AA to add on. Under 23 rare has been pretty poor. Nothing else that's really that big. Kind of bag of spanners, generally speaking. 147 in the cap 240 limited, so that's still possible. Need Atabolo to, I think, get a clean sheet there maybe, or Garam to hit a big one. And under 23 limited, still got a few to run, so CK, pretty good AA to be honest, in a 2-2. Shame obviously Belgium conceded a few goals late on, but I think he'd been taken off. Trubin the hero, 3 clean sheets in a row. Still got Ravella, Barcola and Ramsey to go. So obviously Maxim de Kuiper smashed in 100, so I don't see that winning competition, but you never know. Hopefully Jacob Ramsey has a good one. So before we go through the selections, I want to have a look at the groups. We're doing this video a wee bit earlier. The last one probably went out a wee bit late, so maybe people were struggling to see it. So there's pros and cons of this, obviously. At the moment, the problem is there's still a few guys still to play, so definitely need to take these as provisional lineups, but hopefully get some good thoughts. So first thing is Group A. Georgia really been the surprise here, done pretty well and come back from, I think, 2-0 down to draw 2 each with Belgium. So this is a bit of a knife edge. So you've got Belgium playing Portugal, I think, and Georgia playing Holland. So yeah, Georgia obviously don't think there's many scenarios where they can go out now. I think they're probably pretty nailed to be second now, you would have thought, at least. And then obviously Portugal really need to win. Belgium, I think, probably also need to win unless they get a draw, obviously, and Georgia beat Holland. Yeah, that's right. Group B, Spain and Ukraine been really good. So Croatia, a bit of a disappointment there, obviously, with a few guys, I think, holding their Batarina cards, etc. A wee bit disappointed. Obviously, the issue here, I think, is going to be, will teams rotate? So I don't know whether or not Spain and Ukraine want to take it that seriously in terms of actually winning the group, but they've secured qualification. So I think what you've got to watch out for there is potential rotations. I think maybe with Ukraine they'll probably still go pretty strong, but what I would say is have a year out for the lineups, news coming out of the camps, what are they going to do. Group C, England, Germany, Israel and Czech Republic. Obviously still got games to go later on, so that's something that will need to be reviewed. Israel, I think, in Czech Republic don't really have many playable cards obviously in SO5. Main one I can think of is probably Oscar Glock for Israel, and obviously we'll need to see how results go later. Realistically, this group could be kind of over as well, depending on results later on. So again, need to be careful of that when selecting lineups, because if England obviously win later on, then you would expect some rotations. And then Group D, Switzerland obviously and France both won the first game. Italy really got a sort of must-win game, I think, next, and obviously France look pretty strong, pretty lucky to beat Italy. I mean, a draw probably would have been a fairer result at least, but yeah, so the moral of the story here is keep an eye on the groups, because we'll need to factor that in. There's not many selections up in Play Sharper at the moment either. That's because I've recorded this a wee bit earlier. The final thing I want to mention is goalkeepers. Obviously, we're now on the 25th of June, so there's a good few goalkeepers who actually time out as of next week. So 1st of July is a cut-off. Goalkeepers already 24, you're done. One thing really to look out for here, and one useful tool here on, another useful tool, there's loads of useful tools in Sorare data. You can go ahead and select your lineups for future midweeks, etc. And where this is really good is it does give you an idea as to who's actually available in your selections. So you go to the future game week, you go to under 23s, it will tell you who you've got at your disposal. Always worth keeping an eye on this, because if you have 3 or 4 good outfield players in these restricted game weeks, you don't have a goalkeeper, and then you end up having to buy a goalkeeper closer to the time, then usually they'll have risen, especially if all your under 23 guys have all timed out to be 24, so we lose a few from the pool, and then over and above that, there's no European games or anything on during this spell. So obviously there's going to be a few weeks gap, and always say it, prepare ahead, think ahead. You'll save yourself money, or you might even buy somebody, and if you've not got a team, just sell them on for a bit of a profit. But you don't want to leave yourself in a scenario where you're buying an under 23 goalkeeper for a specific game week, because you'll end up paying a wee bit over the odds. So into the upcoming game week, 2 teams shown here, but I think they're just provisional teams, so let's get them deleted. So again, we'll focus on the under 23s, etc., keeping the same theme. I think it's been a really fun tournament, so thanks again obviously to Sorare for coverage. With the international games and then with the under 21s, it feels as if there's not really going to be a big gap between now and the season, and I think it's really helped with prices and stuff as well. So be careful of that obviously as well. You know, if you're buying under 21 or under 23, goalkeepers, if somebody's been playing, then they'll naturally be a wee bit higher in terms of price because of list or play, so not as many people listing, and also people buying for the tournament. So in terms of goalkeepers, Tenas has been really good. So as we were saying earlier, though, we'll need to watch in terms of rotation here. Just having a flick through, I mean, obviously Ukraine, Trubin's been a total hero. Atabolu, obviously I expect him still to keep his place. Karnaseki is an interesting one against Norway. I think Italy are going to be quite strong. So just have an initial look at that. I think I'll be between Bart Verbruggen and Karnaseki. I think I'll initially go with Bart. Like, he's a favourite of mine, guy I really like. And also Netherlands, Holland need a result here, so I expect that they'll be really on it. So I think he's a good safe selection. Obviously Karnaseki, depending on what happens with the group, probably be a good safe selection as well. Looking at defenders, just initial look there is we're starting to get a bit more restricted in terms of choice here, to say the least. CK I used last week. He did come off early, so they've been rotating that position a wee bit, but I think he played a lot better than Patry. Belgium need to win, so I think he's a good option. Parisi didn't start the last game. Vital, quite an interesting selection against Independiente Medellin. So that's one of the sort of South American equivalent of like the Champions League or the Europa League. Barco playing as well. He was a bit rotten the last game. Sergio Gomez has been excellent. My only worry with Spain is that you start to see rotations and they start resting their best players, and he has been one of their best players. Can we go for Vital? I know it's away from the theme of the under 21s, but I think from that perspective, I think he's a safer selection. But obviously we'll need to keep an eye on all this stuff going forward. On to midfielders, Jacob Ramsey's been really, really good. Well, he's only played one game, he's not been really, really good, but he's a talent. England-Germany will be a huge game, so that's going to be a fun one. Hopefully we'll catch that. Rovella is a good option. Don't expect Italy to make many changes, and they won't have qualified, so that's an advantage. Alan Varela, Boca against Monegas. Never heard of them. That's worth considering. That might be an overwhelming fixture, so have a wee look at that. Sergio Gomez mid card here as well, which is quite interesting. Oh, didn't mean to pick Paulo Bernardo. I think as an initial selection, I'm going to go Rovella. I think him and Tonali in the midfield probably be too good for Norway, and it's looking like a game that Italy really will have to win, I think. So, moving on, Barcola and Sherky stand out at the top here. Pedro Neto was good last game, so I'd expect him to start for Portugal. A tough fixture against Belgium. Danilo Saikan I've used a few times, but obviously Spain, pretty tough fixture. Even if they do rotate, really good strength there. I think I'll go with Sherky, to be honest. Like, obviously I'll review this after I see who plays later on as well, but he didn't start the first game, and obviously if France do win, that would be a good chance to give him a run out as well. Plus he's a guy who really is just capable of tearing it up. I don't think him and Barcola will start, so that's where it becomes interesting, so I might avoid Barcola here. Thinking outside the box of guys I don't have here, obviously Maxim de Kuiper's been absolutely brilliant. At this stage I'm not going to go and buy one, I don't think though, because obviously he's been playing really well and there's a bit of uncertainty because moving back to Bruges. Obviously if he gets in the Bruges team he's going to be a great option, but yeah, at the moment I don't really want to be buying him at peak, if that makes sense. Don't really have any really other overwhelming good options here. Bulat's an interesting one, but he's played in Croatia are out, so Barenik Day I might get a run out against Ukraine. Molinas had a good game recently, but that's quite a tough away game. Sao Paulo, and also I think he picked up an injury as well. Pedro Neto against Belgium. I think I'll initially go for Neto. So this is an interesting one because obviously I've ended up with two forwards here, so I'll keep this under review. But I may well end up going back to Jacob Ramsey depending on what happens. But again, England could well be through by the time this happens in terms of finalising selections. Sorry. Hugo CK, I think it's a really interesting one too. It's a good attacking fullback. And then in terms of captain here, I think I'm going to give it to Sherky. I will review this though, depending on what's happening, whether he starts again tonight for France. If France leave him out again and they win, then I'll definitely be playing him because I think they'll then have the opportunity to rest, freshen guys up, rotate, that type of stuff. I think that's quite strong. Obviously, Vital looks like he's got a good home fixture. I'll have a look at that. Now let's see what the lineup builder for this week says on Sorare data. Don't know if it's got all the right information loaded up to make it accurate, but it looks as if it's going to work. So let's have a go and see what it says. Interesting. Kim Jong-un. Yeah, so he's obviously... oh wait now. Yeah. I thought I'd forgot to change the game weeks here, but it's picking a lot of guys who really are out with under 21s, which is quite interesting. Maybe just because of the relative sort of fixture strengths and just because of how things work. But Vital's in there, so that's quite good. It looks like he's going to play, and also looks like quite a good sort of general fixture as well. So it's definitely the right game week. Hang on a minute. I don't know if this has done this for the right game week. Pretty sure it has actually. Yeah. 23rd. Oh, yeah. Always helps guys to use the right game week. We won't edit that out because I'm rubbish at doing stuff like that. So there we go. Make sure you get the right game week on. So there we go. That's thrown up some interesting ones. We've got Barco, Sordo, Trubin, obviously good few clean sheets, but Spain's a hard fixture. Herrera's one that I hadn't really thought of, and Alan Varela looks like he's got quite a good home game. I don't know if the information's up on here yet, but another thing you can use to play sharper for us, it does give you the odds. But if you look here, we're still quite early days in terms of information. So we'll stick with this draft. I think that's a good first draft, pretty strong team. And between now and the deadline, we'll need to obviously just keep an eye on what's happening with team news, play sharper, and just have another look at the strengths of the lineups. But hopefully some interesting information there. Cap 240. So yeah, this is obviously always quite important one. Always one we focus on. It's always one of the first divisions I pick as well. Excuse me. So first thing I do here is flick down and see if there's anybody that's a low cap cost or anybody who might play who's a zero cap cost. One thing I would probably look out for is with these teams who have qualified, is having a look and see if anybody's likely to get a start that hasn't really been playing. For example, if there's some news that France might play Meslier because they've qualified or whatever after tonight, then consider that. I think to get started, I'm going to go at Bolo because I don't think Germany will have qualified, and Germany-England obviously is quite a big game, plus 36 is pretty much under the average cap as well, which is quite interesting. Some other interesting things coming up here. Obviously, we've now got some of the Chinese games coming back. So you've got Beijing Guan playing Shanghai, which is actually quite a tough game. So we've got guys available here like Nagadu. I was going to sing the Nagadu song there, but I won't reflect that on everybody. He's a strong player, but obviously that's like a tough fixture for them, even though they're at home. If we come down, Sergio Gomez is an interesting one. I might well risk him here, obviously, even with the rotation side. Just there's not many options. Igor Rebel is an interesting one. They're playing Libertad away, so that's a tough away game. Libertad is Sunshine, I think, are from Paraguay, and they're pretty strong at home. But if I get any news he might play, then I might slot him in. He's just back from injury, and Monero, I think, have sold Nathan Silva to somewhere as well. So there's been a wee bit of change about in terms of centre halves and a new manager come in there. So that's an interesting one. Gill is an interesting one against Corinthians at home against Liverpool. Gill's a guy who puts up some good peak scores. You get guys like Nicolas Figal and stuff here as well. So this is an interesting selection. I think I'm going to go. I'm going to go Gill. Again, there's no information in the lineups here, so there we go. Put him in provisionally at the moment. See, because we're picking quite low numbers here, we've now got a cap cost of 54, so it means we can start to squeeze in some guys who are a wee bit more solid or expected to do well. So I think I'm going to slot in a Ravella here. He's a guy obviously who can put up a good base and still keeps us under the cap. So we'll still get some nice options here with 54 to use up. I say nice options, it's quite a tough game week really. Marcus Pink's been a huge disappointment. I thought he'd do really well in China, but hopefully he settles in a bit soon because he's been rotten. You see him taking a bit more time over this today because it's a more difficult game week, this, to be honest. You're obviously coming towards the end of the groups, and also there's less games on. It's not a weekend, there's no other international fixtures on, profile of guys who are playing. So I think I'll go for Ramiro Sordo. I think that's quite a good home fixture there. And he's still a 51, leaves me some room in the cap. And Barco against the strongest. River usually pretty good at home. So there's quite a strong lineup. I've been saying it before and I'll say it again, that looks as if it'll hit 250. Anyway, even the last one's not hit 250 yet, so it is pretty interesting. But there we go. So that's 2 selections done. These are the main ones we're focusing on at the moment. I'm not going to go into any other lineups just now because I don't think, from a realistic point of view, I have enough in terms of strong lineups to go through. But I think what we'll do is we'll keep it fresh and have a wee look at the under 23s Rare Pro. So first thing I do here is obviously this is a wee bit different from Limited. First thing I do is have a look at the extras and see what super rares I've got available. Because obviously if I'm playing the Rare Pro, what I'm putting out a couple of good super rares. Quite a restricted game week, so this is quite tough. Alan Varela, I think, is one I'll put in. So you see earlier he came up. Simican's a really interesting player. Obviously, well good enough for this level, but not really been certain to play at the moment. Adson is a guy who's in and out. Evgen I like, but again he didn't play the first game and it's Italy away. Christian Medina, somebody I really like. So I think I'm going to actually just go for Medina and Varela in a first draft. I'll need to look into this a bit further, but I'm going to look at that. Let's see what Sorare data suggests. Anytime you're stuck, use the tools that are available to you. I'm not stuck as such, but just not really a lot of choice here, so I'll suggest a lineup. That's interesting. I still got this in the wrong week. Yeah, I haven't even suggested any super rares here. Alright, so yeah, that's interesting. So Durso in goal. Durso's been really good recently. Barco's been suggested. The only problem is if I'm playing two midfielders here, then I can't get Barco in as well. So also people who don't play this division much can't captain a super rare. So I think I'll put Barco in and just make him captain selection. So goalkeeper wise, do we go for Bruggen or do we go Gymnasia away at Universitario? I'll have a wee look at Sofa score here again and see what Sofa. See what the story is with their games and Sudamericana. Yeah, I just want to have a wee look and see what their sort of general story is here in terms of the group, because I think that we need to see what the composition of the group is. So first score will actually load up. Why is it not loading up? Yeah. So first score's not working at the moment. Has eventually come up. Sorry for a slight delay there. So yeah, Gymnasia are bottom. That's interesting, although obviously if they win, they might sneak through. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with Bart. I think it's a pretty good game. Like Georgia obviously have been good, right? But Holland really need a result here. So yeah, if I get any wind that Simican's probably going to play, then I think I would consider Simican for this position. But he's just too big a risk at the moment. Like a DMP is just going to kill you. Tolkien against St Kitts and Nevis is a pretty interesting one. I think USA drew one each with Jamaica, but Tolkien didn't play that well, which is quite interesting. Though this will be a more dominant game, you would imagine, against St Kitts and Nevis, just whether or not they rotate. I think it's a provisional selection between Van de Ven and Tolkien. I think I'll go for Tolkien because that looks a good fixture. And that leaves us with forward line. I mean, Guiri, the Shirk. Matthias Arezzo is an interesting one. He was a guy who was playing in over in Granada and then has moved back and loaned to Penarol, and he's got a pretty good goal scoring record. So, if that's a good fixture against America, then he's a guy I'd definitely consider, but he's not like an AA type guy. So I think provisionally I'll go with Sherky and Captain Barco. Sherky, or Mathis as he says on his card, I'll review based on what happens if France are through or not. Guiri didn't play very well last game, but obviously France have got an upcoming game, so there we go. That's the under 23 Rare Pro provisional selection. Cheers, guys. So we'll leave it at that. Hopefully, we'll be coming back with some rewards. Last rewards video was just a quick one. I was out, so I didn't really have a chance to put any commentary or anything on it. But thanks again, everyone. Please hit like and subscribe. Channel started really well, which is good, but we'd like to spread the word and hopefully we'll be able to keep doing the content, getting into the exciting European season. So can't wait for that. Doesn't look like there's going to be too big a gap now, because we've managed to fill the weeks with the under 21s and fill the weeks with the international games, etc. And already some clubs are actually playing pre-season friendlies and stuff, which is quite exciting. So good luck everybody for the new game week. Thanks again for tuning in.